All right, welcome back everyone to Second Saturday. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Cass Fry. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm a co-founder of Detroit CHEMpreneurIST. I'm also a board member and the personal care chemistry instructor. I like to tell people I'm a chemist and an entrepreneur, and I'm just really excited for everyone joining us today. And I'm going to hand it over to Brittany to share a little bit more about herself.
Welcome everyone. My name is Brittany Mitchell-Kelly. My pronouns are she, her. I am also the co-founder of Detroit CHEMpreneurIST and the entrepreneurship instructor, and I'm the board president. My background is in education, social work, and I'm also an entrepreneur. And I'd like to also introduce our other fellow board members. We have Lynn Roosevelt Wiggins. He is our director of strategic partnerships. So he works with organizations all over Detroit and across the state, even across the country, to connect us with opportunities to program or just partner, even funding sources too. So he's out there doing a lot of great work. So if you know anyone that would be interested in partnering with us or programming with us, you can contact him at lynn@detroitchempreneurist.org. And then also on this call today, we have Katie Sandiford, and she is our director of curriculum. So we are trying to develop our curriculum into something that's translatable, and we hope to market someday to educators across the country so that they'll be able to use the great resources we have for youth that are aspiring to be young entrepreneurs and work in the STEAM fields. So with that being said, I'm going to explain a little bit more about Detroit CHEMpreneurIST and our mission and vision. So our program offers students from all backgrounds an opportunity to be empowered. And we do that by offering an inclusive, safe space for students to excel in STEAM. So STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering. We've added entrepreneurship because that's critical, and also arts and mathematics experiences while collaborating about personal care chemistry and entrepreneurship. And it's our vision to educate local youth in a holistic program that will help them prepare and explore their passions, but also diversify the fields of STEAM. And it's our goal for us to be able to create opportunities, not only in rural, but also in urban, and have resident-owned small businesses that we know can help boost the local economy. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Cass so we can dive in a little bit more about what is personal care chemistry and what's entrepreneurship.
All right. So personal care chemistry, sometimes or often I hear, what is personal care chemistry? We are talking about cosmetic and personal care products that you use every day to keep yourself safe, healthy, and clean. So through our curriculum, we teach students about the industry. We also teach them about the scientific properties behind these products and how they can create and develop their own products if they choose to. Now, we utilize the scientific method, so we have them hypothesize, experiment, make observations during this product development, and then learn how to draw conclusions from this. What worked? What didn't work? What would you change about your product? All based on the outcomes of these experiments that we're doing. While we're working on these personal care products, we're also working on an entrepreneurship curriculum, which I'm going to hand it back over to Brittany to share a little bit more about that.
So the entrepreneurship side of the curriculum takes what students are learning with CAS in personal care chemistry and applies it to entrepreneurship. And so we take these lessons to explore the creative minds of students to generate ideas and explore opportunity within their own communities. So whether they're developing a product in personal care chemistry, or they have their own unique idea to solve a problem that they might see in their own community, we foster that idea to help develop it into a sustainable business. So we provide students with the tools they need to boost that business into a reality. So we help them generate their ideas And then we provide them with different tools that they could use, such as market research surveys. We also help them prototype different products or their idea, help them generate a business model, and then practice pitching both to stakeholders and investors. So next up, we're going to talk about a little bit about what we have going on in the next couple months.
All right. So the first thing, we have an ongoing cell phone fundraiser. We are collecting cell phones, old cell phones. It can be, a razor from 15 years ago. And the only requirement is it must have a battery. We will be using these cell phones to create scholarship funds for students in a competition that we're going to host. And this competition will be a science fair, an entrepreneurial pitch competition, as well as an arts competition. So if your student is interested in any of those categories, you can check out our website to learn more about that coming up in the spring of next year. If you do have a cell phone that you would like to donate, you can email us at info@DetroitChempreneurist.org. Or you can text cell phone to 313-536-0714, and we can schedule either a drop off, or pick up. We also have a drop off location at Walking Lightly in Ferndale. So that's 1031 Hilton Street. You can head in there, and there is a donation box for those cell phones as well. Now, some of the programming that we have coming up, we are working with Melvindale Middle School, and this will be a summer camp program going on July 11th through August 8th. We will also be at the Michigan Science Center in August, both on August 2nd and August 16th, to do some of their summer camp programming, which we're incredibly excited to work and collaborate with that organization. We have our August 2nd Saturday coming up. So we're here every month. We've been doing this since February, and it will go through the end of 2022. So in that session, we'll be looking at STEAM in the medical field. So if you know anyone interested in the medical field, or maybe currently works in the medical field, please feel free to share the details on our second Saturday to them. And then in September, we will be hosting another STEAM second Saturday session, and we are currently working out the final details for that. But you can always check our link tree and our social media to stay up to date with what's going on. So a lot of exciting stuff going on at Detroit CHEMpreneurIST. And as Brittany mentioned earlier, if you know of any organizations that would be interested in partnering with us into the summer or fall, please direct them to Lynn at DetroitChempreneurIST.org, and he will connect us, and we'd be really excited about those opportunities. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Brittany to talk a little bit more about today's topic.
Thanks, Cass. So this month, we are spotlighting different financial resources for entrepreneurs. At Detroit CHEMpreneurIST, we strive to develop and support entrepreneurs and make sure they have the knowledge and capital to succeed in their business endeavors. We are incredibly excited to host today's presenters. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Cass to introduce our first presenter of today's second Saturday event.
All right, and I'm incredibly excited for this presenter today. This presenter was someone who helped me through a program called Prosper Us. So Mr. Lawerence Jackson, also known as LJ, is an emerging business advisor. For the past 25 years, Mr. Jackson has had the honor of working with retail businesses, service-based businesses, nonprofits, and building trade contractors. Currently, his primary focus on working directly with entrepreneurs who lead mid-market companies with revenue starting at $250,000 and whose companies have proven products or service. He helps them with their company accounting, business plan, financial projections, tax strategies, key performance indicator analysis, and much more. He also assists entrepreneurs by leading group coaching and webinars on numerous financial planning topics. From his efforts in helping businesses to thrive, he received the Trainer of the Year award in 2016 from Prosper Us Detroit in his first year as one of their trainers. He has also been awarded numerous other accolades from organizations to which he has assisted. Mr. Jackson earned his business his Bachelor of Business Administration from Wayne State University, and a Master of Business Administration from Davenport University. He is originally from Detroit, Michigan, and in his spare time, he enjoys being a grandfather, husband, board member, and the founder of Black Man Appreciate Breakfast Club. Thank you so much, Mr. Jackson, for being here, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you to share a little bit more today.
Thank you so much, Cass. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that Cass was one of my best students. In fact, I learned a lot. I probably learned as much from her as she may have from us. And I am just pleased to be a part of this event. I love what Kim, I want to make sure I get this right, Kim entrepreneurs or CHEMpreneurIST are doing. We need to have 1,000 more businesses like yours, and because you care about the community, and that's really what I'm all about. So again, Cass, thank you for inviting me. I'm not a kind of person that likes to talk about myself. So you have my bio there. If anybody has any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure that Cass will give you my contact information as well as the my website, and I'll reiterate that myself. So we're talking about access to capital or financial resources, and Cass will tell you I have this I guess a framework for businesses, and I'm going to share a little of that, but then I'm going to focus more on the financial portion of it. But this framework goes like this. You have the management side, and I'm not talking about like an operations manager. I'm talking about the visionary, the person that has the vision and the desire in their heart to have a business or to be an entrepreneur. And that entails is really knowing yourself, putting a good team together, and then working on your mission on a regular basis. Work on your vision mentally, work on your vision consistently, and work on your vision in a way that you can execute and make something happen. The next part of this framework is called the operations part, and that is the part of your vision or your business that actually touches the customer. It's how things are executed. It's how the human resources part of it, making sure you got the right inventory and things of that nature. The next portion of the framework is the marketing piece. This is where your message of your vision and of your operations gets to the clients that you're trying to reach. So that's the third portion of this framework. The fourth portion of the framework is technology. What do you use? What kind of technology do you have? In fact, these days they're calling it a technology stack, and that's stuff like your QuickBooks or your what do you call it, the your management system, your customer relations management system. Some businesses have, and especially I would imagine businesses that are in the STEM area, they have a lot of technology, and there's more technology being created every day. And the one other one that I want to just mention is understanding NFTs and cryptocurrency, where now there's ways to create your own persona and push that out to a wide net of potential clients. But the final portion of this framework, and is the portion that I want to talk about most, or excuse me, today, is the finance piece. And a lot of times when we talk about finance, we think about accounting, sometimes we think about taxes, etc. And to be honest with you, it's all of those things. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and I would imagine that a lot of the people that might be on this call are new to entrepreneurship. And even if you're not, I want to start with the accounting portion of making sure, and so that you can make sure that you can access the resources available. Here in the Detroit area, we have an amazing ecosystem where there are business service organizations, there's nonprofits, there's for-profits, even some of the banks, believe it or not, that are really interested in a robust entrepreneurial system. So I want to talk a little bit about those things, but the first thing that you want to do from a standpoint of financial resource is to get yourself, once you've organized your documents. I'm not going to go through the documents, from the state, etc. I know that's something that is pretty self-explanatory. It can be a little daunting sometimes, but the bottom line, I'm going to go beyond that and just talk about the financial stuff, because I know I only have a limited amount of time. But first thing you want to do is make sure you have a business checking account, because it really actually saves you a lot of time and work. If you set up your business checking account, and there again, I'm going back to my framework. What was one of those frameworks? Technology. You have Wave accounting, you've got QuickBooks, you've got, even if you just want to use an Excel spreadsheet, you want to make sure that you properly document your financial transactions. Not only do you want to document them, you want to make sure that they are organized. A great organized financial system opens the door for any loans that you might want to receive. It opens the door for making sure that you know how well your cash flow is doing, which means that if, I've got so money coming in every month, and then there's so much money going out, and understanding how that works. And if you can start to understand to the prediction of your cash flow, am I running a promotion and I'm expecting to have more sales this month or in this quarter? If my financial records are organized and documented, then I can look at that information on a regular basis, make some decisions, and then I'm in a different conversation for any lender that I might sit down with, and I can give them an understanding on what's been going on, why I'm asking for this money, how much I need, and most importantly, at least from the lender standpoint, how I'm going to pay that back. So that's one of the first things you want to do. And not just, you notice I didn't use the old no commingling. I mean, to me, commingling happens, and that all that means is that you're taking money from your personal checking account and putting it into your business checking account, or mixing those two things together, which is an accountant's nightmare. Believe me, I've untangled a lot of messes in my time. But the bottom line is that business checking account properly set up can actually have some automation in there that will spit out some of your records and give you some of the data that you need for any type of lending situation, any type of funding situation that you might come across. So that's one thing. And then I know I'm supposed to talk about resources. So I'm going to start again with the very first thing that you want to make sure you're doing. Make sure before you go to borrow money or even go for investors, make sure that you know what your cash flow is looking like. How have you tapped in to all of the resources that your business is making available to its customers. If I were, let's say I have a pound cake factory and I make flavored pound cakes, okay? Double chocolate, I got hazelnut cream, lime, coconut. I'm making all these beautiful pound cakes. Okay. Have I done the homework to understand what the demand for that is? And let's say, for example, I've done that. Okay. I've done my homework. I know that there's a demand. I did all my, my market research, testing, all of that. Now I'm looking to make sure that I have done my marketing, I've got my operations in place so that my customers come in. Now I can start to look at and predict who's coming in for what, and okay, do I have enough money coming in to fund my operations? Do I have enough money coming in that will generate the sales I need to keep my operations going? Do you see how I'm going back to that framework? I'm just trying to make an example. So I want you to make sure that, number one, before you say, hey, I need to go borrow some money, that you have tapped into your customer base. And you should know who that is, without getting into a discussion about target marketing, etc. You should know who your customers are. So let's say that we've done that. We know who our customers are. In fact, we know that the hazelnut cream pound cakes, they're selling off the rack. I'm doing great business. I just got an order from Cass Kim, and they're doing a Saturday event in August, and they want 20,000 hazelnut cream pound cakes. It's just me. I can't. So now I know I'm going to have to hire some people. Now I'm going to the bank and say, look, I need to temporarily hire 3 employees, 2 employees to get this order out. Here's my letter of intent or my invoice, and I just need to deliver. That's a different scenario now, because now the bank says, oh, well, how can I help you? And I'm missing, I've kind of, because I'm trying to hit the time, there's a few little steps in there, but just trust me on this. So the next thing that happens is, okay, I go to my bank or I go to one of these micro lenders, and I'll tell you who these are in just a little bit. But I go to them and I say, hey, I got an order for 20,000 hazelnut cream pound cakes. I need to hire 3 people. Here's how much it's going to cost. In fact, by the way, I need to borrow a little more money to upgrade my equipment. So now I've got what? My uses of the funds, but I also need to figure out where the source is coming up. So if I'm talking to a lender, now they're going to say, well, Jackson, we like you. LJ, we like you, but you can't pay this loan with us liking you. So how am I going to get that back? So now I can go back to my results again. Going back, I can go to my documented financial statements, my organized financial statements, and show them how I've done in the past, how this order fits in. And now I'm in a much better position to get funded. And I have a good need for funding. It's not because I haven't been making any money and I need a loan. It's I've got money coming in. I can document that I've made money. I have an ongoing business and I just need some help. Okay. So now let's put a pin on that for a minute and let's talk about where I should go to get that money. So if I got 20,000 pound cakes that I've got to create in about a 30-day time period, I got to know what? I got to know how much it's going to cost me to make those 20 pound cakes. Guess what I'm going to do? I can go back to my documented and organized financial statements, and I can look at that line item for my hazelnut cream pound cakes. I see that it costs me, I'll just use a number, $2 to make that pound cake. It's probably a lot more than that, but I'm just trying to make numbers make sense. So I got $2, and so if it costs me $2 to make that each pound cake, I got 20,000 pound cakes. That means that I need about 80,000, if my math is right. I'm hoping my math is right. I used to could do this stuff in my head. I'm getting a little older, but anyway, let's just use that number. 20,000 pound cakes, $2. I'm sorry, 40,000. So I'm in much better shape. I just solved part of my problem here. So it's $40,000 that I need. Okay, where can I get that back? The first thing that you want to make sure of is that you got some skin in the game. All right. So I might only ask a lender like a Prosper Us that does these types of loans, and they can do loans all the way from starting at $5,000 all the way to $50,000, and they do not have as much credit constraints as a bank would have. So let's say I might use them. I might use Michigan Women's Forward, who has a similar process. I could also use Biz Loan Fund, which is a part of the Detroit Development Fund. You've got Axion East that they're a little slow, but they still have what we call a microloan program. So I might go to one of these micro lenders because maybe I've had some hiccups in my credit in the past, and I don't necessarily want to waylay things and make sure that I have my money for my cakes in a 30-day time frame, which could be a challenge, but we're gonna, stay with me on the scenario. So now, what am I going to do again? I think I'm hoping that you're going to get my point. If I go to one of these micro lenders, what's the one thing they're going to ask me? Sure, you got to fill out an application, all of that, but they're going to want to see my documented, organized financial transactions, because they're going to ask me for a balance sheet, which is what you own less what you owe, and the difference is what you really own. Okay, they're going to ask me for that, and they're going to ask me probably for a business plan and some other things. So the bottom line is being prepared, understanding what you have to have in place so that you can take advantage of some of these particular micro lenders out here. So you might be wondering, okay, LJ, that's a nice story, and I love hazelnut pound cake and all that kind of stuff, but what the heck is a micro lender? So a micro lender is a non-traditional lender. They actually loan money by committee, as opposed to a bank or even sometimes a credit union that has some structured program with a bunch of algorithms, and either you fit it or not, and it doesn't matter sometimes how much money you have in the bank, etc. They have certain businesses that they have an appetite for, and that algorithm will say, oh, pound cakes, nope, we took losses on pound cakes 2 years ago, so I don't care how well he's doing, and I don't care how much money he has in our account. We're not doing pound cakes. Now, that might sound a little like, oh, that's kind of rough, but being a 10, 20-year banker, that's what happens. And that is because banks have a fiduciary responsibility to their depositors to make sure that they are prudent with any loans that they make. Like it, not, we could debate whether that's fair, all of that, but the bottom line is that's how it goes. So micro lenders, on the other hand, are normally nonprofits. They are normally, again, driven by committees and not necessarily people who are at the loan committee status. They are not necessarily bankers or even former bankers. Now, some are, but some are not. And just so that I can reiterate some of the micro lenders in the Detroit area, I want to make sure that you have those names. So Prosperous, they do loans from 5,000 up to 50,000. Okay. Not really credit driven, but more about what is your story. Same thing with the Biz Loan Fund. That's a part of the Detroit Development Loan organization, and they do similar loans, 5,000 to about 50,000. And please check these people out because sometimes they change some of their thresholds. Then you also have, let's see, BizLoan, the Michigan Women's Forward. They do small micro loans between 5,000 and 50,000 as well. And then you have the Good Food Fund. That is also a loan, but it's for food-based businesses. One I'm forgetting is called Kiva, and I think you've got somebody here on this call that's going to talk to you more about Kiva. But I have a little nugget for you on, I want to say at the end of this month, there is a national microloan conference that will be held at Greektown Casino. And I have access to a 30% discount. And I will make sure that Cass gets that information so that anybody who might want to attend, and all of the micro lenders will be at that conference. And so make sure that you grab that information. But it's coming up at the end of this month. I want to say it's the 28th or it's the last weekend of this month. So maybe it's the 29th and the 30th. But it's the second annual microloan conference. And you'll be able to talk to micro lenders, that people that are actually in the field doing this kind of work every day. You'll also meet some of the bank representatives. I think Comerica Bank will be there. Fifth Third Bank will be there. So again, I'm not anti-bank. I'm just saying that they have different restrictions and restraints. And whereas micro lenders and some have the designation called certified Development Financial Institutions, or CDFIs. That is a designation given by the Department of Treasury that allows some of these organizations like a Prosperous to actually get grant money to lend to the general public. So going back to my cake scenario. So now let's say I go back, I've got my documented, right, organized financials. I've got my story. I've got my invoice. I am putting myself in a position to win. And that's what I want all of you to do. And I don't know what my time is right now. I get to talking. Cass will let you know that I love this stuff so much that I could probably talk about it all day. I know that my wife is tired of me talking about it all day. But anyway, Cass, do I have a few more seconds, or do I need to go back over some things? I will kind of yield to you on that.
Yeah, you can go ahead and finish up in the next couple minutes.
Okay. So the moral to this story is get yourself organized, find ways, systems to organize. I mentioned one, you know, like QuickBooks or Wave accounting. There are others, but get yourself organized so that if you need to tap into any of these resources, and there's a lot of them in the Detroit area to help you to get the funding that your business needs, is critical. And don't be afraid to talk to some of these lenders before you need money. Most of the time, banks don't give you an umbrella when it's raining. And with that, I'm going to let you go. Thank you. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. LJ. You did an incredible job. Actually, that event that you were talking about, the micro loan conference, we're going to be sharing that on our social media this coming up Tuesday. So if you could share that information with Cass or myself, we'll be sure to add on to our post. It is happening at Greektown on July 31st. And I'll also be sure to include, I know you talked about micro lending. And so at the end of every presentation, we share resources based on the topic of that month. So I have some resources or financial resources on there, but I'll also include, when this video is edited, the other resources you mentioned, like Prosperous. We have utilized Michigan Women Forward as a resource in March, and the Good Food Fund, and we do have a presenter for Kiva. So thank you so much for all your knowledge and very inspiring. So thanks again. Next, we're going to introduce our next presenter, Mr. Marcus Jackson. He is the Vice President, Community and Economic Development Manager at Fifth Third Bank. Marcus Jackson serves as the Vice President, Community and Economic Development Manager for the Western Michigan region. He is responsible for overseeing the bank's regional compliance with the Community Reinvestment Acts and cultivate and lead community partnerships and execute community development and social responsibility strategies. Marcus joined the Fifth Third Bank in 2021 and has 10 years of experience in the banking industry that includes formal credit training, business banking, community development, financial education, and community outreach. Marcus was instrumental in establishing the Community Development Organization in Southeastern Michigan for his previous organization, helping them achieve an outstanding rating. Thank you so much, Marcus, for joining us today, and I'm going to pass it on to you to share your knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I just also want to say before I get started, I want to give a huge shout out to Lawerence. I've known him basically my entire career. And he has been a great friend and a great mentor. And honestly, everything he shared is basically everything I would share in terms of what to share for entrepreneurs. And in terms of resources, he's absolutely right. You have a lot of micro lenders, and I think that's something that many entrepreneurs simply just don't know about. And something that I've found in my experience with entrepreneurs is that you don't know what you don't know. And for those of us that do know, so people like myself, this organization, Lawerence, and others, it's our responsibility to provide you this information. So please come to the microloan conference. I also will be there in attendance as Fifth Third is supporting that, and come get that knowledge. So I guess to continue, when it comes to entrepreneurship, I do have a unique perspective because I am formally credit trained. I have that standard bank knowledge, but also I've had a unique experience. So as I stated earlier, I started my career, I had the formal bank training and did commercial loans for small businesses, but then halfway through my career thus far, I moved over to community development. And that's where I really focused on helping true startups, but I was able to do that under the guise of an actual bank. And that's what it really opened my eyes. And even though now I live in Grand Rapids, pretty much all my career up until 2021 was in the Detroit area. So many of the organizations that Lawerence mentioned Those are the organizations I work with, such as Prosper Us, Tech Town, Michigan Women Forward, and many other of those resources within the city of Detroit. They're really there to help you. Build Institute, that's another one that comes to mind. And when you thinking about starting a business, I think it's imperative to have that business plan. And what a lot of people do is they think they can hire someone to write their own business plan, which is an option you can do. And if you're struggling to put it to words, that is a great option to have. But in all honesty, I think it's best for you to just write your vision, write your dream down so you can have it written out and then have someone help you polish that business plan. In addition to a lot of these organizations within the city, there's another free, well, not technically free, but there's another resource that our taxes pay for, and that's actually the Small Business Development Corporation. And so our taxes actually pay for that. And so with that, you can go to them, they'll help you write a business plan. They actually have a bunch of tools and free resources that you can use to help you start, grow, and sustain your business. They also will help you do a lot of research. So going off of Lawerence's example, if you want to make pound cakes, you can go to them and say, hey, I want to open a pound cake in Ferndale. They can tell you how many pound cake shops are in a certain geographical area and tell you, well, this is where you best may fit. Or is this market's oversaturated? Maybe you should go to Southfield, or maybe you should go to Oak Park, or whatever. These are resources that you can use for free because your taxes are paying for them. And their job is to truly just help you. And I know I had 15 minutes, but Lawerence shared a lot of information. A lot of the information is what I was going to share. So I don't want to just regurgitate everything he just said. So I guess, Brittany, Cass, is there anything else that you think that would be beneficial to share? Because again, a lot of those resources Lawerence pretty much covered.
No, I mean, I think that if you think that he's covered everything and there's nothing to share, I'm not sure, are there any specific resources that maybe Fifth Third that entrepreneurs can use?
So with us, we do have a small business lender. We're business bankers, but then we also have a specific LMI banker. Her name is LaShonda Golden. She actually will also be at the conference. So LMI stands for low to moderate income. And she's our LMI banker. So that means that any business that is located in a low to moderate income area, we have programs specifically for those businesses to help them get access to credit. And so she'll be able to explain that more once you meet her at the conference. And I'll be also happy to share her information with you all. I can put that in the chat for you as well.
Wonderful. Well, I want to, just say thank you so much for being here and taking your time to support us and share your knowledge and information. And we will share the details for that conference. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of great resources there that can connect. And then anything that you share with us, we'll make sure to put that on our social media and get it to our students as well. And, one thing I did want to highlight that you touched on, and I know the other Mr. Jackson touched on as well, is, writing your vision down, writing your dream down. Just put together a vision board. That's something that we do with students, and then turn that into your business plan, right? What are those things that you can pull, and how critical having that business plan is? And then, I love that you plugged, there are experts out there to help you. You do not have to do anything alone. Utilize what's available to you and, those other resources. And I think the combination of both of you has really been a wide and vivid picture of, what's out there and what young entrepreneurs need to do. So again, thank you so much for your time today, Marcus, and we really appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and move on to our next presenter. All right, so our next presenter is Onni Stone. She is the Capital Access Manager at Kiva Detroit and Detroit Soup. It's a programs of Builds Institute, and I know Mr. LJ, he kind of mentioned Kiva, so we're excited to learn a little bit more, and also excited for Ani to be here because Detroit CHEMpreneurIST was actually a Detroit Soup winner. So it's a really great opportunity for entrepreneurs, young and old, and all in between to access some of these resources available within our community. So Ani Stone is passionate about emerging marginalized people, specifically economically and through financial literacy. She is a lifelong Michigan native, now resident of Detroit. She has worked for and started a number of small businesses over the years and understands the micro and macro impact of providing resources for entrepreneurs. She works for the Build Institute in the capacity of Kiva Capital Access Manager, and in her free time, she is a reader, learner, woodworker, and explorer, which all of those passions are very awesome, and I love the woodworking one. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you to share more about the Kiva loan, and we'll go ahead and go to the next slide.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here, especially taking part in CHEMpreneurIST's work, because they came and presented at a program we were running, Detroit Soup, and ended up winning the pitch that night and taking home all the money that we raised that night. So very excited that their work is moving forward. And like I said in that bio, I work at Build Institute, and we are a Detroit-based small business incubator. We have a location in Corktown, right on Michigan and Trumbull. And we try to help entrepreneurs who are in the idea stage launch their business. So we have classes, and we have entrepreneurs in residence who can give you one-on-one support. And we have a retail space you can use to do a pop-up or practice your business model. And then we also try to help connect you with funding. So Kiva is one of the funding programs that we focus on here at Build Institute. The other people here today on the call have talked kind of broadly about some of the resources. So I'm just going to get very specific on one of them, which is Kiva. So can you go to the next slide? So Kiva started on this vision. Their vision was about the lack of access to, resources in different parts of the world. So they came up with this motto: dreams are universal while opportunity is not. And they set out to change this by putting microloans in areas that normally didn't have them. So Kiva started in 2005 in San Francisco. It was a nonprofit, and they started doing microloans all around the world. You could go onto their website and lend somebody as little as $25, and they could use that to, buy corn to plant or buy clothing to sell at a shop, any number of things. And these were people that were normally unbanked, normally had no access to loans, and were definitely underserved in the financial world. So it started out as an international program, but then they decided that they could bring this over to the US and work on getting capital to people who normally aren't quite ready for traditional bank loans. So can you go to the next slide? All right, so Kiva is in 77 countries at this point, and they've lent about $1.6 billion through the site. There's about 2 million lenders on the site, and almost 4 million borrowers. And almost 2 million loans have been funded. The majority of borrowers on Kiva's website are female, and a lot of people in conflict zones, a lot of farmers, a lot of people in least developed countries are on this site getting access to capital in a world where they normally wouldn't. Can you go to the next slide? So in the US, access to capital is consistently a top 3 growth constraint for US small businesses. And we would be at full employment if 1 in 3 small businesses hired just 1 additional employee. And every day, 8,000 small business loans are rejected by banks. Small businesses create 2 out of 3 jobs in the United States. All of these stats show you just how important funding is and how important small businesses are to the US economy specifically. Can you go to the next slide? So this is thinking about the lending side of Kiva. So you can think about Kiva as a platform. You know, lenders go in, lend $25 or more, and borrowers take that money, use it to start their business or to further what they're working on, and then pay it back to the lenders. So Kiva, being a nonprofit, doesn't take a cut of any of these funds. It's a crowdfunding site. So what they do is they essentially research and vouch for the borrowers and let the lenders know that these are good people, that they have the business they say they have, and that they have done the legwork to vouch for the company. And then lenders go on the site, and they a lot of lenders do this for philanthropic reasons. They aren't on this site to make a profit. They're here to, you know, make the world a little better by spreading some wealth around. So if you go on Kiva's website, you can make loans in $25 increments. It's not a financial investment. You'll get full repayment, but there's no interest or equity. And the risk falls on you as the lender. But we do have a lot of ways we mitigate risk at Kiva. Kiva has an overall 97% repayment rate. So it depends who you lend to, whether you're going to get repaid, but a lot of times lenders are willing to take that risk to get capital to people that normally won't get it. And you can choose to fund specific areas that you're passionate about, you know, refugees, war zones, women, agriculture, retail, education. So you can go on the website, search for any category that is especially close to your heart, and then lend to that person. And within a year to 3 years, you'll get paid back. All right, so can you go to the next slide? All right, so from the borrower side of things, when Kiva came to the US, they wanted to have kind of a creative funding option for people. It's a little different than what you'll get at a lot of other places. So what Kiva offers is $1,000 to $15,000 loans with 0 interest and 0 fees. There's fixed monthly repayment terms from between 12 months and 36 months, so 1 to 3 years. And they're all or nothing campaigns with a 99% funding success rate. And when you put your loan up on the site, you have access to almost 2 million potential customers, brand ambassadors, and business advisors. So it's a direct from the lender to the borrower. There's no middlemen. There's no cut taken out of the money lent. And because Kiva is a nonprofit, they make sure that there's no fees or interest involved. Can you go to the next slide? So what Kiva cares about is your character, support from your network, potentially a trustee endorsement, and your ultimate success as an entrepreneur. So Kiva is not going to necessarily look at your credit score or all of the things that a traditional bank would look at, such as your and whether your cash flow is positive as yet, things like that, where you can be at a really early stage and still find your way to a certain amount of capital. And since we're not using some of the traditional methods to, you know, like a credit score to see who you are and whether you're going to pay back the amount we lend to you, we use what we call social capital. So we have friends and family, community from your network lend a little bit to you at the beginning of your funding period as sort of a community endorsement. So let's say you take out a $5,000 loan. The first 300 might be lent by people you know personally, and that gives you more incentive to pay back the loan without us having to look at your credit score or a more traditional way of checking what your character is. So Kiva tries to give people who, you know, are not in a good place to get loans, rebuild their credit and find a way to get a little bit of capital and start building their way up, you know, especially people that aren't in a good space financially as yet. It can be really hard to, in the very early stages, under 2 years, to get financing for your idea. So Kiva is a very good starting point if you're really early on and you need to start working on getting yourself financially ready to get larger loans and build your credit and have a working business model that you can show later on. So can you go to the next slide? So the Kiva roadmap is pretty straightforward. You can usually get a loan in about a month and a half or less. So the process is you open an application. It takes about 35 minutes to apply. It's not a very intense application, but you're going to need to do 2 things. You need to prove to Kiva that your business is, you know, what you say it is, and kind of show them where you're at financially, personal, show a little personal finance, a little business finance, and proof of your business with a, you know, EIN confirmation letter, a tax return, something that proves that your business exists, and give Kiva the ability to vouch for you to the public side of the site. Then you also have to create in your application a public facing side of the site, because all of the money that you're trying to raise is from people who just go on Kiva's website. So you need to have a nice photo of you and your business and a little explanation about who you are and what your business is and why you need this loan, so that lenders will be interested in backing you. So you create those 2 things, you send in your application, and then it goes into the review stage. In about a week or a week and a half, the Kiva team should review your application, and then they will let you know how much you are approved for. Let's say you asked for $7,000. They might approve you for $7,000. They might approve you for $3,000. You have the option to accept the funds or not. If you choose to accept, it goes into private fundraising, and that's where we go into that social collateral I was talking about, where you have a private fundraising period where a few friends and family get to lend to you before it goes public. So this does 2 things. First, for the public, this shows them that you have some people that vouch for you, that, you know, you have people in your community who know your business and they're willing to lend to you. And also it kind of does the snowball effect, where nobody wants to be the first one to lend $25, but once you have a few $100s, somebody wants to finish off that loan. So it kind of gets the ball rolling. Then once you get through the private fundraising period, which is 15 days, but you can get it done in the first day if everybody lends that quickly, then you go into the public fundraising period. This is a 30-day period, but again, it can be shorter if people lend to you faster. We have about 2 million lenders on the site. So once you get to the public fundraising period, it's really straightforward. You don't need to do any work. The loan will just get moving, and you should there's a 97% chance that you'll get fully funded. Once you are funded, the money will be put into your PayPal account within a week. So all of the money that you raise with Kiva goes through PayPal into your business bank account, and then back through PayPal to all the people that lent to you. And that is the repayment period. Every month, you will send back an even portion of the amount that you borrowed, and it will get evenly divided back to all the people that lent to you. All right, can you go to the next slide? So here's just an overview of the application period. It's pretty straightforward. You just go through each step: personal information, verify your business, the loan request, what you need the loan for, show your finances, upload a photo, and when you get through there, you will have the chance to just save it, come back, work on it later, but it's a pretty straightforward process. All right, next slide. So here's 2 examples of what the loans look like when they're live on the site. So over here is Brandon with Canvas X Detroit. He was trying to raise $10,000. He had an art class kind of business, and he wanted to buy a truck to do mobile operations where he could do pop-up creative programming for people around the city. So if you went over to his application, you would see this nice photo of him, a little synopsis of what his loan is for, a little more detail further down, and 144 lenders together lent him the $10,000, and then he in turn paid all of them back. Here's another one, Miko. She was looking for a generator to purchase a solar power generator for her food truck, and she was looking for a $6,000 loan. All right, can you go to the next slide? So this is just a little overview about loan sizes. So since it's between 1,000 and 15,000, if you want to know about how much you might be qualified for, this is kind of an overview of where you need to be at to get the different amounts. So if you're not making revenue yet, you're 0 to 6 months in operation with no online presence, you might get a $1,000 loan. If you start to become cash flow positive and you can show that, 6 months, 2 years in operation with a basic online presence, you might get 2,000 to 5,000. If you're profitable or established and 2 to 10 years in operation with a strong online presence, you might get 6,000 to 15,000. Now there's some variance to all of this, but that's a good overview for about how much you might be able to qualify for. Next slide. All right, so this is just the repayment that I mentioned. You have the option of opting in or out of reporting this loan on your credit score. This would be toward your business credit. It's a great way to build credit because you don't need to have any credit. You could have bad credit, but we will still accept people for loans. And if you want to use this as a way to start building your credit score so you could qualify in the future for a larger loan amount and get better interest in the future, you can definitely opt in to reporting this to Equifax. And like I said, if you borrow, say $5,000, it'll be divided between all the months that you are have the loan for, say 12 months, and every month a small payment will go back to everyone that lent to you. So in this case, this person got paid back 69 cents in June because that is the portion of the loan that they lent. All right, can you go to the next slide? So this is just a summary of everything I've mentioned. Kiva uses social underwriting, social capital, the power of your network instead of your credit history. You have the option of meeting a lot of people, becoming part of a huge Kiva network. We have listed all of the businesses that borrow through our site, and you can find them. And if you travel around the country, you can shop at them if you become part of the Kiva network. We have a very high funding success rate, almost to 100% at this point. And loans are up to 15,000, 0% interest, no fees, and between 12 and 36 month terms. Can you go to the next slide? All right, so if you want to learn more, you can go to kivaushub.org. To apply for a loan, you go to kiva.org/borrow. I'm Onni Stone. You can email me at kiva@buildinstitute.org if you have any questions. I have office hours every week on Tuesday and Thursday, and those are virtual right now. So just go to buildinstitute.org, and on the calendar, you'll see all my office hours. You can just sign up and we can talk more one-on-one about your application, or if you're ready for one and need any help. And I think that's all for me.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I can't express how, important it is to talk about the resources available. And we just really appreciate you being here today. And I know I learned a little bit more about Kiva. I have actually donated and lended on the site to organizations within Detroit, and I have started receiving my payments back. So it is a really easy process, and I highly recommend, whether you need capital or you would like to contribute to somebody within your community, to check out Kiva. So again, thank you so much for being here, and we will be sharing more information about Build Institute and Kiva on our social media. So please check them out. Great organization. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to some questions, and I'm going to take a brief pause to see if anyone participating in this call today has any questions for our presenters. Unfortunately, one of our presenters had to drop off, so Marcus Jackson, he is no longer on the call, but if you do have specific questions for him, feel free to drop them in the chat or send them over to Brittany or myself, and we will make sure to get them to him. And you can also head to that event that we have talked about multiple times today in Greektown coming up at the end of July, where you can meet Marcus and learn more about some of the things that Fifth Third has going on. So I'll take about a 30-second pause to see if any of our guests today have any questions. And if not, I have a few facilitated questions that I'm excited to ask to learn not only more about your advice for entrepreneurs, but maybe a little bit more about yourselves. I like the Jeopardy music at this time. Do, 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 do. And I'm a very impatient person, so sitting in silence while I wait tends to be not one of my skills. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions, and I'm going to ask these questions to both of you. And to be respectful of your time, we only have a couple questions today. So we'll go ahead and start with you, LJ. The first question, I know you gave a lot of advice in your presentation today to entrepreneurs, but what would be your top financial tip out of everything if you had to pick one for entrepreneurs?
Oh my goodness, that's like asking a parent which child they love the most.
They all have the top.
Okay, so since I talked about it today, I will say being organized, having your financials organized, and the documentation comes with that. So financially being organized.
All right. Great tip, and definitely something that we work with the students on, to make sure that they can kind of align those thoughts. But I think that tip goes across the board, for everyone, and maybe not even just in financials, but trying to stay organized in your life can be helpful. All right, Onni, I'm going to go ahead and pass the question over to you. So it was, what would be your top financial tip to entrepreneurs?
Well, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are early on. So I would say, don't feel intimidated. Find one thing that you understand and can do and just start there.
Yeah, awesome. The importance of narrowing down your ideas, because I think myself as an entrepreneur, I'm like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, and have all these things. But, the importance of focusing on one thing and doing that great, and then some of those other things can come after, once you have that wonderful business idea and you're on that road to success, or maybe are already succeeding. All right, so my next question would be a question for our students. So thinking back early on in your either career or when you were a student as well, what is one thing that you wish you knew about finance or, just entrepreneurship in a whole? And I'll go ahead and start with you, LJ.
My goodness. I would say that understanding the budgeting and the consequences of making what I call microwave type decisions, meaning not being able to sometimes pass up you know sales or things that you feel you want but you really don't need, and then ended up you know having a credit card or something in a max situation, or not even being able to pay it. So decision doing more with financial decision making and understanding the consequences of what I'm spending my money on.
Absolutely. I think that's such a great tip, because so many young people get a credit card and, they end up a lot of times maybe messing up their credit or in debt that they just can't get out of, and they're stuck in that cycle. So, really passing that knowledge along and saying, hey, think about this, think about making a budget and starting out, even if it's small, but, get a credit card that only has a couple $100 limit, so you don't end up in that situation, of $10,000 in debt. And I can speak personally from that. I got hooked into something, and it was very hard to get out of, and it was very relieving to get that credit card paid off. So I can speak personally that is something that I wish I knew a little bit younger. And I know, like I said, there's lots of other people out there who really need that advice. And sometimes you got to learn from failure, right? Fail forward, never do it again. So
Sometimes that's the best. Sometimes that's the best medicine. I remember when I was a branch manager in Ann Arbor, and I had a lady that worked for a large company. She had got a $500 credit card when she was a freshman and never paid it back, and now she needed a mortgage and was almost in tears because I mean that 500 ended up costing her quite a bit, but it also kept her from getting a good rate on the mortgage. So some of us financial professionals could do a better job of explaining those kind of things as well. So
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The impact that you don't realize, that all of these things kind of are like a domino effect. And, something that you made a decision when you were 18 is impacting you, in your 30s as well. So thank you for sharing that story.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to go back to you and Onni, and what would be, your advice or something you wish you knew as a student, about um, you know, financial access, I guess, or, even entrepreneurship.
Yeah. One thing I think about is everyone has different learning styles, and finance can seem very intimidating. Some people, their ears just close when we start talking about it. So what I would recommend is noticing how many ways there are to learn it, how many options there are. If you need a video, there are animated videos on YouTube. If you do better reading, there's some really interesting books. There's books that are told as a story. There's comic books. If you want to talk to someone, talk to someone. So find the way that works for you. I know for me, I'm kind of an auditory learner. I do really well with audiobooks, but some people, they just don't hear it that way. So I think know and be aware of how many options you have. You can go to the library, you can go to the internet, and you can find a lot of ways to learn topics that seem too hard to learn, but they might break it down in a way that you can easily understand, easier than you thought.
Wow. Yeah. That is definitely so important to figure out what works best for you. Cause I know if something seems intimidating or, I don't understand it, that's going to deter me from doing it. So how do I translate it into what works best for me? And I think, that's something that we definitely strive to do is meet students where they're at. Learn about them, learn about their skills and how they, whether it's like you said, looking at a picture book or reading it or hearing it, or maybe presenting it in multiple ways so that way they can really get the full picture. And so thank you so much for sharing that. And now I have one final question before we move on. It's not related to finance, but it is something that we like to ask our presenters because, as entrepreneurs, as working in the financial, it can be stressful, right? You're seeing all these people struggle, you want to help them, and that always can take a mental toll. So we like to ask, how do you practice self-care? Because we really push that through our program that self-care is so important. It's something that I have to consistently remind myself. You cannot work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, because you will burn yourself out. And so we'll go ahead and start with you, LJ. How do you practice self-care?
Well, I'm still in the, how do they say it? God's not through with me yet. I'm still working on that. But the bottom line is every day you have to give yourself some time to just not do any doggone thing, just to rest your mind. It's hard for me because my mind it just won't stop. So I haven't figured out exactly, and if anybody has any suggestions, I'm all ears. But how to shut it off? I mean, and I know meditation works and things like that, but just quiet time and really being grateful for whatever it is that you have. A lot of times, I know in my past life, like I'm still here, but anyway, I've over the years, there have been things that I have not purposely neglected, but just not looking at, all the roses, all the beauty that's around me, and not, not necessarily taking it for granted, but just not taking it in. So, if I was given some advice, take in all of the beautiful things around you, no matter how small they might seem, and don't judge your situation by someone else's situation. So be grateful for what you have. And that's how try to keep myself grounded.
Wonderful advice. I took stop and smell the roses and how important that can be, right?
Yes.
And only think about those roses or, that experience, when you're right in that moment. So thank you so much for that advice. It was wonderful to hear that, from you and you sharing your story with us today. All right, we'll go back to you. Not that I did this purposely rotating back and forth, but it kind of just worked out to it that way. So Onni, how do you practice self-care?
A big thing I like to do is go outside. I've seen studies that even spending 30 minutes a week in nature can reduce stress and depression by a good percentage. So it's a good tool to have in your back pocket. You'll be surprised how much sitting at a park or going for a walk outside will do for you, especially if there's trees around. If you're in Detroit, you can go to Belle Isle, it's always there. And another thing that's really helped me is, in America, we have kind of a hard working culture. There can even be a hustle culture, and you're expected to work and produce. And it's kind of a badge of honor to stay late and to come in early, But I think one of the things that helps me is remembering that we are human, and there's kind of an ebb and flow to our energy. We have good days and bad days, and maybe more energy in the morning and less in the afternoon. And don't make yourself be a robot. Go with the flow, be yourself. There's a good thing about humans and the way that we have our energy and the way we produce a lot one day and then we recharge the next day. So don't fight it, just, go with it.
Yeah, great advice. I know that's something that I struggle with because, like you said, America is this capitalistic society, and we're just numbers producing sometimes for other organizations. And so that's why one of the things I love about, being an entrepreneur is being able to make that space and create a different culture that maybe focuses on the fact that we are humans and that we have things going on, outside of work, and that can impact that. And so how important that can be. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today, and for both of you for being here. I know it truly means a lot to me and our organization. And I don't ever want to speak for Brittany, but sometimes I end up speaking for her. I'm sure it means just as much to her as it does to me. So again, thank you. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to some ways that you can help Detroit CHEMpreneurIST, and, some of the things that we are really looking for, especially with the community. So we are always actively looking for classrooms, schools, organizations to host our workshop. You've seen in our upcoming events, we have quite a few things going on this summer, but as an organization, we're planning for the future and we want to keep our mission and vision going. So if you know any of our organizations that would be interested in either collaborating with us or bringing our program on board, please send them to either Lynn. So we talked about him earlier in the presentation. His email is lynn@detroitchempreneurist.org, but you can always reach out to our general email, which is info@detroitchempreneurist.org, or go to our website and fill out a contact form. We have a pretty fast response time, so expect to be hearing from us quite soon. Again, we're excited and enthused to be out here sharing this information with the community and with students. Other ways that you can help us to engage is we have market research surveys that we have not only created for students, parents, as well as community members, and those are available on our link tree, which we have dropped in the chat. The link is also in our social media. If you ever want to know where our link tree is, you can also just go to Linktree/Detroit CHEMpreneurIST, and that'll get you there as well. So those surveys are available there. Feel free to take them and just help us improve our program. We want to make sure that our program is what the community wants. We're not here to tell you what anybody wants. We're here to meet your needs and meet you where you are. I already mentioned connecting us with those organizations that may be interested in partnering, but also connecting us with other resources to help fund our efforts. Detroit Soup was a great resource for us to help fund our efforts. But if you know any other grants or anyone out there who would be interested in making a donation, we do have several ways that you can donate to our organization on our website. You can add us as your Amazon charity. If you're a frequent Amazon shopper, you can donate to us through DonorBox or PayPal. We do have those options available. Feel free to start a Facebook fundraiser. I know we see those all the time for birthdays, but you can just go ahead if you really enjoyed the presentation today or one of our previous second Saturdays, start a fundraiser and spread the word. And then I already said this, but visit our link tree. We have a lot of cool stuff on there, not just our social media. We have interviews that we've done, previous second Saturday presentations, and then also something I'll talk about in the future, access to some merch. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Brittany to share some additional resources that may or may not have been mentioned today.
Thanks, Cass. So every second Saturday, we'd like to share resources based on the topic. So I'll also include some of the resources were mentioned earlier. I see one, but I'll also include the other resources that LJ had mentioned earlier on in the presentation. But just a couple of resources that are Detroit specific. The first one is DetroitMeansBusiness.org. Under financial resources, Detroit Means Business is helping make Detroit the place for small business owners to thrive. So DMB is Detroit's front door to entrepreneurial success and the one place dedicated to driving a strong small business community, find solutions, and make connections and help make your small business soar. So there's several different types of funding options available to meet either small businesses or medium business needs. So based on each type of need that you can go through, they can cater a funding type that would be suitable for your business. The next resource I have is the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, which is the city's economic development catalyst. If you're a business looking to expand in the city of Detroit or make Detroit your home, they are the first step in your path to success. So their team is creating transformational opportunities for residents, local businesses, and new investors right here in Detroit. And their mission is to design and implement innovative solutions that attract investment, create jobs, and advance Detroit's economy for all residents. And they're dedicated to an inclusive economic development, and they take this responsibility to heart. So each district has their own business liaison. So there's a whole bunch of resources that entrepreneurs can utilize through the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation to expand their business further. The next resource I have is Motor City Match. So it's Detroit's business challenge for entrepreneurs looking to start or expand their businesses in Detroit. And oftentimes entrepreneurs can face two major hurdles, and that is, for one, it's not easy to find the right space. And for two, even if the right space is found, business and building owners may still have financial gaps that need to be addressed before they're ready to open. So the goal of Motor City Match is to help start new and permanent businesses in Detroit's commercial corridors by providing assistance throughout the business startup and building renovation process. So the Motor City Match tackles the city's startup challenges by matching the best businesses from Detroit and around the world with Detroit's best available real estate while providing competitive grants and loans and counseling to help both building and business owners get open and expanded. Next, I have Invest Detroit, and they are a mission-driven lender, investor, and partner that supports business and real estate projects that will ignite economic growth in Detroit and the region. And so their goal is a thriving city that works for all Detroiters with an improved quality of life, inclusive housing, resource and walkable neighborhoods, and equal opportunities for jobs and business growth. So Invest Detroit was created to bring partnerships and philanthropic resources together to support real estate and business projects that struggle to find traditional funding or financing. And with lending and investing tools and a team of strategic thinkers passionate about Detroit, they partner on projects that create housing and job opportunities for all Detroiters. And knowing that they can accomplish more together, their work is collaborative, and they leverage additional resources and expertise to create a better chance of success for entrepreneurs. And lastly, LJ had mentioned this resource, the BizLoad Fund. And this resource was created by the Max M. and Marjorie S. Fisher Foundation and the Catalyst Fund. And they've provided a $2 million loan commitment to create the BizLoan Fund, designed to assist small businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs in Detroit and Hamtramck and Highland Park. So the primary objective of the fund is to provide loan capital and technical assistance for Detroit neighborhood-based entrepreneurs and small businesses who have historically been excluded from traditional capital sources and business opportunities. So with that being said, I am going to go to the next slide. And as mentioned earlier, this event and all Second Saturday events are always recorded so they can be shared again in different places and spaces. And so we know the conversation is critical. So if you know somebody that could benefit from today's conversation, please share. We're trying to expand our social media presence, especially on our YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe, tell others to subscribe, and like the videos that you like best. So in the future, when we're planning these Second Saturday sessions. Again, we can keep on planning topics that you enjoy and benefit from the most. That being said, I'm going to pass it back to Cass to close us out today.
All right. And I mentioned this earlier, but if you are interested in getting some Detroit CHEMpreneurIST merch, we have partnered with Closed Talk. They partner with a lot of nonprofit organizations to get merch out. So we have lots of different things available, over 20 different items, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, polos, yoga pants, hats, you name it, it's there. So please head over to Closed Talk. You can either search our organization, type in Detroit CHEMpreneurIST, and we'll pop up. Or if you go to the web address there at the bottom of the slide, you will be directly taken to our page, which will share more information about our organization, our mission and vision, and there is a video up there that you can check and watch out that is also available on our YouTube. So again, I just want to thank our presenters today for being here and for sharing their knowledge and information. We truly, truly appreciate you all. And we will be putting out some of that information on our social media and our website so you have access in the future.